Hello everyone, welcome to our new video lesson. Our lesson is 12.2. It's called web celebs. What are these? Let's have a look together. Work in pairs. What are the positive and negative things about being famous? Use the photos to help you. Let's use. We can say as a positive side of that, if you're a celebrity, you are known by everybody, maybe in your country or all over the world. And what about the negative side? Negative side, of course, is that you don't have any private life in this case. Discuss. What do you think a web celeb is? Read the article to find out. Let's read. The internet has changed the meaning of celebrity. In the past, you had to be a successful actor, or musician, or just sports person to be famous. Now all you need is the internet. One of the world's first web celebrities was Ghislaine Raza. He filmed himself acting as a Star Wars hero, and his friends put the embarrassing video on YouTube. Millions of people watched it, and the Star Wars kid became world famous. Another web celebrity is Gary Brolsma, the Numa Numa guy, whose video of himself singing a Romanian pop song has been watched more than 30 million times. In 1968, artist Andy Warhol said, "In the future, everyone will be famous for 15 minutes." With the invention of the internet and the YouTube, maybe that time is now. So here we had question. What do you think web celeb is? Probably it's to be a celebrity by the help of internet. Answer the question. What's the difference about fame now? So you have to think about it. Of course, it's related to internet connection. What did Ghislaine Raza and Gary Brolsma to become famous? To become famous, what did they do? Actually, they used the internet connection, and by the help of that, they became famous. Have you heard of any other web celebrities? Of course, you can enumerate here lots of people. Look at the article exercise 2a and find one example of a word which is suffix. Here we have full, successful, old, this one young, et, and er or or in just a minute, it is ian, and of course these are used for making some nouns describing jobs. Let's have a look together. Here we have celebrity, successful, famous, again celebrities, then again celebrity, but in the first one we've got actor, musician, yes. Then what do we have here? Invention. That's all. And of course you can enlarge this list by the help of your general knowledge. Complete words 1-8 below and put them in the correct column in the table. What are these? Celebrity, here. Photographer, this one. Politician, This one. Popularity. Here. Adventurous. This one. Helpful. Here. Dangerous. This one. And wondrous. And we use wonderful too. Here and here. Let's go on with the next part. Just a minute. Listen to 8 people answering the last question. Put the number of the speaker next to the thing they mentioned. What's the question? Question is that, would you like to be famous? Why and why not? What would you like to be famous for? Let's have a look together.
Unit 12. Recording 2. 1.
For anything, it would be art. I love painting, and if I had more time, I would love to paint seriously. If I could have a painting in a museum, I'd be really happy.
2.
I'd be a famous politician. If I was a politician, I would try to change the world, to stop all these wars and do something to help poor countries. You know, I think it's terrible how most politicians don't seem to worry about things like that.
3.
If I could do anything, I think I'd be a famous footballer or something like that. Imagine if you scored a goal for your country in the World Cup. That would be such a good feeling. You'd remember something like that forever.
4.
I'd love to sing. If I could be famous for anything, I think I'd be a singer. Or a dancer. I'd love to be a famous dancer. I'm terrible at both of those things. I can't sing or dance. I guess that's why we have dreams, isn't it?
5.
I would love to be a famous writer or poet, like Shakespeare. I think it's a wonderful thing to be able to write a book that people all around the world want to read, to be able to speak to people in that way. Yes, I'd like to be remembered as a great writer. But I don't think that'll happen.
6.
If I could be famous for anything, well, let me see. Oh, for being beautiful. That would be good. One of those beautiful actresses who wins at the Oscars. If I was famous, I would be rich, live in a big house, and have all those clothes. Oh, yes, that would be nice.
7.
If I could be famous for anything, it would be for inventing something like a medicine or a cure for cancer. Not for being an actor or a musician. If I invented something that made people's lives better, that would be good.
8.
What would I want to be famous for? I wouldn't like to be famous. If I was famous, I wouldn't be happy. No, I prefer just being me, thank you.
Unit 12.
I'm sure you mentioned some notes there for you, and let's do it together. Here we had 8 people answering this question. So let's say their answers. Actually, the first one has been mentioned here. It was an artist. Second one was a politician. Next one, third, is a football. Is related to football, so footballer. Next one, the fourth, is a singer or dancer. The fifth is a writer. The sixth one is a beautiful actress. Next one, the seventh, a scientist. or an inventor. And the last one didn't mention anything about it. That's why we cannot say any words about it. Here we have next exercise. Listen again and complete the sentences. Actually, this listening material is too long. That's why while watching this YouTube video, you should use the advantage of YouTube to draw back into the listening part, and you can listen again, because I don't want to waste your time and to make this video more right now. Let's do it together. After listening again, we have to do it together. Okay, it's time to do it. First one. If I had more time, I would love to paint. 2. If I could have a painting in a museum, I'd be really happy. 3. If I was a politician, I would try to change the world. 4. Imagine if you scored a goal for your country in the World Cup. That would be such a good feeling. 5. I'd love to sing, but here we have next part. If I could be famous for anything, I think I'd be a singer. 6. I'd like to be remembered as a great writer. 7. If I was famous, I would be rich, live in a big house, and have all those clothes. If I invented something that made people's lives better, that would be good. And the last one, 9. If I was famous, I wouldn't be happy. Here we have grammar rule. It's the second conditional. Let's analyze the whole grammar together. Second conditional. The second conditional, we use a sentence consisting of 2 clauses. One part of that is called if clauses, and here we have the second part. In the if clauses, we have to use past simple, and in the second part, or in the second clause, we have to use future simple in the past. I mean would, or in negative, it's wouldn't. Let's analyze this rule. Use if plus past simple plus would or wouldn't plus infinitive to form the second conditional. We mentioned it. Use the second conditional to talk about an imaginary situation in the present or future and its sequences. It's mentioned here because we cannot use this sentence structure for expressing some conditionals related to reality. That's why they are called imaginary. If I knew the way to the museum, I would tell you. It means I don't know the way to the museum. If I won the lottery, I would never work again. It means I am very unlikely to win the lottery. It's an imaginary situation, which is often contracted like I'd, you'd, he'd, we'd, they'd. Wouldn't like this. Would not is constructed to wouldn't. Actually, I prefer to use wouldn't more than would not. That's why I read it as wouldn't. If we had more money, we'd buy a bigger house. We wouldn't live in the city if we didn't need to. It's possible to change the order of the clauses. Notice that there is a comma after the if clause in the first example, but no comma in the second example. They mean that if we use if clause in the first part, we have to use a comma, but if we use if clause in the second part, we don't use a comma here. If I had children, our lives would be very different. Our lives would be very different if we had children. With the verb be, it's possible to use were instead of was. If he was or he were a lawyer, he would tell you what to do. If I were you, to give an advice, it's used to give someone advice. We use here if I were you, because it's an imaginary action, and in fact, I'll never be you. That's why we use if I were you. If I were you, I tell him your plans, not if I was you. We pay attention to this. We use if I were you. And it's also possible to use could. If I could sing, I would start a band. So if plus past simple tense, here we use would. If I had more time, I would love to paint. If I was famous, I would be or wouldn't be happy. If I was a politician, I would try to change the world. Underline the correct alternative to complete the rules. Let's do it. Use the second conditional for real or imaginary situations in the present. Of course, it's imaginary. If I was famous, but I am not famous. Use the second conditional for likely, probably, or unlikely, impossible situations in the future. Of course, we choose unlikely, impossible situations in the future. If I didn't have to work tomorrow, it means that it's not real. Underline the correct alternative. If I did more sport, I would feel fitter. If I had the day off, I would stay in bed. If I didn't work or study, I would be bored. I would read more if I didn't have a TV. I would use my bicycle more if I didn't have a car. What's the next one? Here we have another exercise related to that grammar rule. Let's do it together. By the help of this case, we can make our own sentences using the second conditional. Let's do it together. The first one is mentioned for us. If you won the lottery, what would you do? What is the second one? Now you can stop the video and write your answer and check your answer by the help of my sentence here. It's like this. If you could have dinner with any two living people, who would you choose? Next one. If you had no money, what would you do? This one. If you had more time, what would you do? And the last one. If you could change one thing about yourself, what would you change? Next part is related to writing skill. Put sentences AD in the correct paragraphs to complete the profile of Albert. Who is that? Schweitzer. He was born in 1875 in France, and he spent his childhood in a village, Gansbach, where his father taught him music. In 1913, Schweitzer and his wife left for Lembrani. I couldn't read this places, but we have to practice more while reading this. In Gabon, Africa, to start a hospital. Albert Schweitzer was a theologian, a musician, a philosopher, and a doctor who dedicated his life to helping the thick. They mean here the thick people. Then, as a young man, Schweitzer became a world-famous musician. And here we have 4 parts. He won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1953 for his work for humanity. After school, he studied theology at the University of Strasbourg, but he continued to play the organ. He gave many performances and wrote books about the life of Bach. But at the age of 30, he decided to dedicate his life to helping people, so he studied to become a doctor. At the beginning, they had little, but Schweitzer made money by performing music in Europe and writing books. In the 1960s, The hospital had more than 70 buildings. When Switzer won the Nobel Peace Prize, he gave, wow, so the $3,000 prize money to the hospital. Albert Schweitzer died in 1965, was buried in Lamborghini. Lamborghini is his native place. So let's do it together. C is used here because here they mentioned some fields related to Albert Schweitzer, and as a result, he won this prize. So 1 is C. Let's analyze. 2 is A because it's a general information about his life, his early life. A is 2, or 2 is A. Next one is D. 3 is D. Pay attention to this part because they are related to according to their topic. Famous musician, and here they mentioned about some performances and books about the life of famous composer. And the last one, of course, it is B. Pay attention. By the help of the names of places, we can easily understand that 4 is B. Choose the correct heading for each paragraph. Achievements and later life. It is, of course, 4. Rise to fame. It is 3. Childhood and education. It is 2. And what's the last one? It's introduction. Introduction, of course, is the first one. There's 1. 1 is an introduction. Here we have really interesting and important tip. Each paragraph should have a different topic. The first sentence of each paragraph, it's called the topic sentence, should introduce that paragraph. Plan the topic of the paragraph before you start writing. Pay attention to this tip because it will be so helpful for you while writing your essays in the future. Okay, guys, I hope this lesson will be helpful for you and you learn something new from this video lesson while watching. And I hope you enjoyed it. Try to take care. Bye-bye.